Hey, so you know how Morpheus gave Neo the option to take the red pill or the blue pill? I'm giving you that same exact option right now. You can take the blue pill, you can stay the same person you've always been, you can stay the same player you've always been, or you can take the red pill and see how deep the rabbit hole really goes. Welcome to Holistic Talks Tapping into the Zone. I'm Martin Sories. I'm about to talk to Laura Mitchell Wilde, the quantum queen herself, an NBA holistic mental performance coach. She's the author of one of my favorite books I've ever read, The Cosmic Athlete. If you want to tap into the zone, just get ready, stay tuned, and stay tapped in for the conversation. All right, let me just have you start by explaining what you do and what you've been doing and also why you do it.
Hi, Martin. I'm Laura Wilde, and I would say, the pleasure of being able to do exactly what I love in my work. So I teach people how to get in the zone, which, as far as I'm concerned, that includes the healing zone and the performance zone. So I teach people how to get in the zone so they can really and truly surrender to the best version of themselves. So when I teach people this, it's really not about adding something. You're not trying to go get something over there. You're literally just becoming empty, because when you're empty, you can be a vessel for the most powerful and the most talented part of yourself. That's what I get to do every day with people from all walks of life, mostly basketball people, but also baseball people and business people and writers, etc. Young or old, it works. It's a formula that is literally foolproof, fail proof, repeatable, and always attainable.
You use the word surrender. What does it mean? What does it look like to surrender?
The first step is to get still. And this is really, even though I can mean that for in the moment, it means in life, become more still. Instead of chasing, instead of chasing your dreams, you want to become aligned with them and be so powerful of a being that your dreams come find you. You're still going to take action. You're still going to work hard and set intentions and be in the right place at the right time. However, if you can become still, you can actually begin to surrender the mind to a higher space, right? An emptier space. So what's in our mind, and you guys probably wake up in the morning and notice there are things going on up there in that head of yours. There are in mine. And you want to surrender whatever that is. You're really only tuned into a frequency like a radio station. From time to time, I would wake up and not that it's real death metal, but the frequency of like a death metal song. And for people who love that, that's great. That's not for me. So then I noticed that I could actually wake up, and I don't mean actual music. I mean, I wake up and I immediately observe what's going on in my mind. So lately I've been waking up to these, I've been really reprogramming myself for the last 2 weeks to surrender so much that when I wake up, I'm filled up with great words, great thoughts. I love you to myself, right? I'm hearing myself say that. I'm hearing those words that I say every day. Today is the most magnificent day of our lives. And then I surrender and I trust that I've set that emotion with my words. So surrendering is really about trusting and becoming more empty instead of more full. So the way you do that is you get still and you allow the thoughts to move through you so you can observe that they actually are not coming from you. They're actually going through you. And that's how you surrender.
In your experience, what can that look like for a basketball player specifically?
Yeah, for a basketball player, I mean, you don't start like before the game. You start in practice. You start before practice or after practice. And you start by sitting. And I would even say have a journal there. Sometimes it helps me if I have a journal before I'm going to do a deep meditation. Because right before you try to get quiet and be focused on nothing, suddenly you have like 10 good ideas and or the ego will, tell you things to get you distracted. So for a basketball player, take a day when you don't have a game. Don't do it the day before the biggest game of your life, because sometimes to go to a higher vibration, there's a little kink in the road. It's usually very minor. I just never begin working with someone the day before the biggest game of their life unless they're in a slump, right? Then it's fine, because then there's no place they can go but up. So for a basketball player, I would sit in a place that's fairly quiet and I would close your eyes and just start to notice what you're thinking. I would actually start breathing, let the breath move up and down your body and observe the breath, right? So as you're breathing, you can actually look at the breath. So here the breath is moving and you're kind of go outside of yourself and watch the breath and notice that you have this mind with many different tracks, right? Your thoughts and then the observer of your thoughts. And you'll notice and you'll begin to separate from your thoughts, which is key. because you literally want to lose your mind and you don't want to become your thoughts, but your thoughts will become you. So the only way to create thoughts that are the thoughts that you want to become you are to observe them so you can choose. Ah, not that one, more of this. And you start to channel in the ones that make sense for you, that are really part of your big purpose and your big goal. So that would be step one, to sit on a day when you have time. If you do it for a minute, great. If you can do it for 10 or 20, even better. But don't ever start with something that you're going to fail. If you can only sit still for a minute, start there. Close your eyes and just breathe. Don't go get in an app. Don't try to do all that mess. Keep it simple, because ultimately the goal is, the app is like a babysitter for your mind. You're actually going to want to, it's a training wheel, the training wheels. You're going to want to take off the training wheels eventually. So why put them on if you don't actually need them to stay on the meditation bike?
What's up, Hoopers? Eric here from the Holistic Hooper.
This is Martin from Holistic Hooper.
And we're super excited for our exclusive workout bundle.
3 workouts from the Holistic Hooper, plus a guided meditation.
As a former Hooper, I've always struggled with keeping a routine, or I just didn't know where to start. So this bundle brings all that together.
So give us your feedback. Let us know how you like the workouts. Let us know how they make you feel. Stay tapped in with the Holistic Hooper and enjoy. Let's try to focus on our hoopers right now. Why do you think it's specifically important for basketball players to meditate?
One thing is, you want to be able to be in, I always say, if you meditate, you have more access to quantum possibilities. And a basketball going into the hoop can play largely on quantum possibilities, because we live in a quantum field of all potential. So I think it's great that some people shoot like in the 40th percentile and higher, like around that range, right? But why is no one shooting like 90%? Why? Who's doing that? Why not? Because honestly, if in practice you can make 10 and 10, some people can make 10 out of 10 shots in a practice every single day, right? But they probably never do it in a game. And so if we meditate, we actually get closer to that type of perfection, because then you're actually, when you become empty, it means you forget about every time you've ever missed. And the goal would be to not have any misses in your mind when you're shooting. Also, if you meditate, you're going to be more in sync with your teammates. You're actually going to be more in sync with the ref, because people will see you and they won't even know why, but you'll actually be a little, I want to say like shinier. You'll have a higher frequency, because when you meditate, you actually, like, these layers peel off of you. People see me do this. What does this mean? All the old fear is like a blanket or a cloak around me. When that stuff begins to peel off, you become a very clear and connected and present person to be around. So no one will know why, but they'll see from across the room that they like your energy. And they may not even mention it to themselves, but a ref, an official, a coach, whatever, there's something that they'll notice about that. When I work with players in this realm of quantum, of frequency, shifting their awareness, becoming more true to who they really are meant to be, they'll say, yeah, if I know coach is about to put someone in, I can lean forward and look, and I can like send that signal, and coach will just see me, and there's like, boom. And so you actually increase your chance of playing time. I mean, I don't know if we can prove this. I have several different stories where this worked and it was great. So you want to be at the highest frequency you can. Meditation is the fastest way to get there. And it's really going to make a difference in everything you do on the court if you actually meditate, because then you become, instead of being fear and being grief and sadness and angst and holding lots of self-sabotaging, habits, you will just become the best version of yourself. So why wouldn't you want to become that? Why wouldn't you want to pull away and peel away and step, like literally imagine a heavy blanket, even if you think you're your best. As soon as you meditate, 7 days in a row, it might take some people longer, it's literally going to feel like you walked out from under a heavy jacket or blanket that you didn't even know you were wearing. So that's going to be key. You're going to feel lighter. You might jump higher, who knows? But you'll also be more connected to everything you do. You'll be present. You'll be here. You'll be taking this shot, not thinking about that last shot. And that's, percentage is everything, right? Consistency. That's going to be really a big changer. If you meditate more often, and you're a hooper or any type of athlete, you're going to be a more consistent athlete, and you'll be better at the little things more often.
So why wouldn't a hooper, why wouldn't anybody go ahead and do it when they hear that? Like, why wouldn't you just go ahead and tap in, right?
I wish I knew. No, honestly, the ego will stop us. So even for me, if I decide I'm going to meditate in 20 minutes, I'll be about to meditate and the phone will ring and I'll have a choice to make. I really want to answer this. I got to put it down. So I put it down. And maybe I go to meditate. Oh, okay, got to go to the bathroom. Okay, come back. Okay, I'm hot. Like all these little things come up. There's always a little excuse, right? And so we have to push past our excuses to get the results we want. So it takes self-discipline. And then like for me, I can go to my meditation spot. And as soon as I sit there, I'm just gone. I disappear. It took some time. I've been doing it for many years. You also want to have a glass of water there. You want to make a space in your house where you do it. So it can be easier. It becomes a habit. Like if you shoot 100 free throws a day, meditation is the same type of habit. And I mean, when you say, why don't people do it? Honestly, it's easier not to. Sadly, it is. It's easier not to, but the benefits of doing it are so like literally so profound, so remarkable.
I had an experience recently where I meditated. I FaceTimed one of my buddies and he was like, yo, why do you look like that? He's like, you look like you just like got out of a pool or something. Like, are you good? Like what? I'm like, well, I'm fresh off the Medi. Like that might be it. Like
fresh off the Medi.
Fresh off the Medi. Yeah.
That's funny. That's a new hashtag for us. Do you meditate before you go train someone or before you play? Like when are you using it most?
In between kind of like work times. But so sometimes that is before I go out and train. Now that I'm like learning more, I just find myself trying to meditate all the time.
I mean, and they say half an hour of meditation, I think is like an hour of sleep. Meditation does change our brain. Like it really is good for long-term health. We're less likely to have things like dementia and Alzheimer's if we meditate a lot. I mean, it's incredible. The benefits are so massive. Why doesn't every human meditate for 5 minutes tomorrow? Because the whole world will be changed.
What players do you say, like, you really need this? This will change your whole life, like literally. You have those certain ones that it's just like, man, if you tap in with me for like a few weeks, you don't even know what's going to happen.
I mean, Martin, just to be honest, I say it to everybody, whether they're a basketball player or not. But what I'll tell them is, the different ways it can help them. For players who aren't consistent, I explain how it will help them be more consistent. And players who get stressed out and really nervous when it's time to shoot a free throw, I talk about that. And there's also those players who don't get in the game that much, and they feel like, wow, I just got drafted by an NBA team. I'm here, and my whole life this has been my dream. And instead of me being able to reach my dream, I'm on the bench. I'm frustrated. I don't like this. I should be in the game. I literally go to practice and I sit for 2 hours on the bench during the game. And then we have another game the next day. And all I'm doing is shooting around for 30 minutes. And then literally the fun leaves. So I tell them that that's how they can bring the joy back to the game for them. So people who are feeling burnt out, they can get some of the joy back. People who feel the stress of the team relying on them can actually begin to enjoy it and feel more connected to their team. And when I work with players who are in slumps or don't do well on the road, I help them create a home court advantage within themselves so that it's always there. So every single player can benefit massively from this. Even if you're the best player in the world, you'll benefit because even the best player in the world doesn't shoot 100% from the field. And I don't have any clients to do that. I've never had anyone willing to do all that work to get to that space, to even get in the vicinity or the proximity of that type of excellence, Yeah. And I think most athletes end up that way afterward. But there is a level of excellence where we can see that. And my goal is for us to see that in my lifetime, in your lifetime, where a player is 100%, maybe for 2 or 3 games in a row. Even that would be remarkable, would it not be? It would be a new morphogenetic field, a new M field, like Roger Bannister's 4-minute mile. They thought it was physiologically impossible. What's interesting to me is that breaking the morphogenic field with Roger Bannister's 4-minute mile was considered a physiological impossibility, but shooting 100% from the field, that's a mental impossibility as far as you and I or the world would be concerned. Like maybe you and I aren't, but there's no physiological barrier to that. It's really just a mental barrier. And wow, isn't that interesting? Mental barriers, we can break those down easily. Now me leaping, from the ground to the roof of my home, I can't imagine that in my lifetime, but I can certainly imagine the shooter shooting 100% from the field, The barrier to that is so small. We should blow it over and someone should just do it.
So I'm gonna tell you right now, the problem is there's a lot of disrespect. There's a lot of disrespect and misinformation going on. So Protect Our Queens isn't just to protect our young hoop queens from y'all imposters and people who claim to know basketball but don't appreciate women's basketball. It's also just a space to have our young hoop queens come through, share what they're thinking, talk about the game, the culture, give love to other queens who are giving them that queen energy that they need. We're having conversations, we're doing commercials. So trust me, if you're not down with Protect Our Queens, you better get down and you better tell somebody, because we're not going anywhere. I want to talk about dealing with situations. You talked about that earlier. I can talk situations in basketball all day long, right? Like the game it's broken up into all these little fragments, little moments, right? Like every possession, every time Chris Paul comes up for a pick and roll situation, every time, I mean, he's taking that thing like it's his last, right? Because every moment matters. What's your advice for just kind of focusing on each moment, and how can that, transfer to performance?
Well, one thing I would have, I should say, players, people that I work with, athletes, men or women, girls or boys, is to spend some time, a significant amount of time, visualizing the game from start to end. Now, you don't have to visualize 48 minutes, because when we close our eyes and use our imagination, the game will move very quickly, or it might even move more slowly. You can decide, but see some key moments. Watch tip off. Watch yourself on the bench, slapping your teammate's hand as you go in or out of the game, and pick some moments and really see yourself and observe yourself there. It translates really well with baseball pitchers. When I work with those guys, I say there's only one pitch per game. Which one is that? The one you're throwing right now. The last pitch is not a pitch. The next pitch is not a pitch. There's certainly a little bit of strategy, right?
Sure.
However, you have to get lost in that one moment. Each shot has to be brand new. Like if a shooter's having an off night, keep shooting because you do, right? And if you keep making it, that's okay. You're probably going to miss. Everyone's going to have these ups and downs. We might have these streaks of making, these streaks of missing. We got to keep going because, there's no reason to hold back, because like if you're in a slump, not shooting is the worst way to get out of the slump, because that second you make the next shot, everything's going to fall away, and you're going to literally, it's like creating a new end field, right? The new morphogenetic field can happen in the moment. If you're in a slump, you keep missing shots and you make one, boom, you literally up level your frequency. So just to be clear, like, even though I like players to meditate, that is not actually the zone. So our brain, in the waking state, our brain is like kind of fast. It's called the beta, right? And then the meditation is the theta. And right in between is this little sweet spot, and that's the zone, the alpha state of our mind. The alpha brain waves are highly active, or that's the measurement, I guess. It's alpha waves. When we're in the alpha state, that is when you can be really present. That's when you're in a creative daydreaming state. So that's what the goal is. And some people are in like a hyper beta state. I get there pretty quickly. So it's weird because for me, my mind works too fast. I talk really fast. So we all know some people like this. Maybe it's you. I know it's certainly me. When I'm talking really fast and I'm kind of wild, I'm in like a hyper beta state. So I have to go womp, womp, womp to kind of bring my brain down and get to that alpha state where I'm more chill and I'm more connected. And when you're in the game, you don't, like, you want to be empty, not full of, you want to have passion and intensity, but you don't want to be so overly deliberate with every movement. You want to let the movements come through you and come to you. You don't want them to come from you. So there's that distinction, right? So I can, pass the ball, or I can allow the ball to be passed through me as like an instrument, or I can allow the move to come to me and then make the move as it comes to me naturally, instead of thinking ahead what I'm about to do. Because when you do that, you're not in the zone. So some of the greatest moments, in basketball history, they don't say, yeah, I was coming down the court and I knew I was going to kick it to the left because Michaela was there, and then I knew Bird was in the wing. They say, I don't know, I just came down and then I saw, right? And then I passed. Not I planned to pass when I got down the court. Most of the great moments, if you agree, this is when I listen to stories. Most of the great moments, they're in the present tense when they tell the story. They're not telling you how they planned it ahead, because they usually don't. The great moments aren't planned ahead. The great moments are in the zone, which means there's a spontaneous situation that happens. Boom, I'm open and available for the most incredible move of my life right now. That's the zone, that you're always open for the quantum potential of anything to happen.
Isn't it true that each basketball player has a divine spark within their game?
Absolutely. I mean, even if it's, my 9-year-old nephew, like I believe every basketball player, because every human being has the divine spark. It's just not always activated. We have to activate our potential by getting in touch with the higher version of ourselves. And one of the ways we do that is we get out of, victim consciousness, literally getting out of blame and into gratitude helps us get there faster. So when players are super angry, they don't win their championships. Very few super angry athletes actually make it because their bodies break down. Their minds aren't ready, their bodies break down, something happens, they get kicked out of the game, they get texts, little like internal accidental excuses happen to keep them from the greatness that their divine spark would carry them into. The divine spark wants to be, you know, moving from you to the next person, like leaping, like, oh, just almost like, when that little fairy has her magic wand. I think almost, who is it? A Wendy in Peter Pan, the little ding, ding. It's like that. Let your divine spark shine through and let other people catch it. Because when they catch the energy of your divine spark, it just, it's like it tags and taps into their divine spark and it can activate it. That's why it's so important for us to, to recognize that we do have this incredible power that's always moving through us, like channeling through us. We just have to like let it happen. This is the surrender, right? And so every player, I believe, does have a divine spark, and every player has a chance to see it activated during their career. And especially as they get great at the skill set, the physical skills, it's easier to surrender when you're not having to think through, your step back, or you're not having to think through your dribbling and then your bounce pass, right? So the more skilled you are, the easier it is to surrender to the divine spark. And the idea is that you surrender to it over and over again by recognizing that you can play your game in the joy. You can play your game in a state of gratitude. Like, did you see Steph Curry when he beat Wilt Chamberlain's record? And the announcers said it. They said, he's just full of joy. I'm like, yeah, Steve Kerr's his coach. Who was Steve Kerr's coach? Phil Jackson. What did their team do? They meditated. Steph's in touch with the joy. Can you name a player who plays with the joy and the smiles and the grins of Steph without having those angry moments? Like Steph has very few of those other sides, And I've seen him in person. I've met him in person, and he's just, he's such a love. When before the games, he does that shot from like behind the basket, right, 3-point line extended like 15 feet, and he makes one before every game. It's incredible. I don't even want to minimize it. It's not incredible. It's phenomenal. Yeah. And that guy, he gets it. He's got the joy. I mean, Draymond Green is a little bit like that. If you watch Draymond Green on the bench, his kids will be sitting behind him, and he'll be there like, joking around with his kids. He's in the joy. He's in the childlike state. And Steph's a little bit like that too. And I'm sure there are other players. I shouldn't say I don't know anyone else. They're just not as noticeable. Maybe it is haven't caught my eye. But I love the joy that Steph has. That's the divine spark. Oh, he makes me think, man, what record can I break? How
Right.
good am I going to be? When I leave this life, is there a legacy for me? And so I think Steph helps us feel that way. And so because of that, to me, he's a great example. And I love to look at who he's with all the time. Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's a very conscious coach, a very awakened being in general, compared to most other NBA coaches. I mean, I'll say that to all their faces. Y'all ain't doing the work. They're not meditating. Steve Kerr, I'm sure, does, or at least used to. And I heard at one point that the Golden State Warriors had a meditation space. And I'm pretty sure Miami is onto that a little bit. Some of the teams are a little more holistic. Mm-hmm. And, where I was, we just didn't have, there wasn't a holistic, other than the holistic stuff I brought. Right. The holistic program didn't have the respect that at a place like the Golden State Warriors. And look, that's why they were so good all those years. They got it, Yeah. And so many of the NBA teams don't get it. They think it's, oh, woo-woo. Okay, well, guess what? All woo-woo is one step behind being completely validated by science. Just like meditation used to be woo-woo, right?
Right.
Now it's Calm. The app Calm is worth $1 billion. Okay, I'll take $1 billion for some woo-woo.
Sign me up for that woo-woo. Absolutely. Woo-woo. I'm ready.
Let's be real. Woo-woo wins games. Okay, I said it.
People can kind of think that just because we are trying to be peaceful and meditative and all that we don't have like emotion and fire.
I was in the car one time. I was playing some gangster rap, And the person, it came on actually, I didn't turn it on. It came on when I got in the car. And the person in the car was like, I thought you were a healer and a meditator. I was like, I am. How do you think I like, stay balanced? I get in the car, I turn up that DMX or something loud, and then I can come back to that quiet and still side. I mean, I'm not there. It's a lifelong journey to get to that place, where you're just constantly still. But even the Buddhas, they'll laugh hysterically or do wild stuff. It's not like people who meditate are automatically boring. I think that's the problem. People think that meditators are boring, when in fact, if you're around someone who meditates at that deep level, they're more in the joy, and they're so clear that you really can't make a mistake. You can't offend them. They're unbotherable. And being unbotherable is a superpower, right?
Describe what it's like to you to tap into the zone.
When I tap into the zone, I go from being sort of animated, and it's almost like I travel through a path, a tunnel, I will say, a tunnel to the zone. So it's almost like if I were, those slides there's like a round, like the round metal slides, and you go down it and it's dark and you go around and you come out the end. That's what it feels like when I go in the zone, because the zone doesn't feel like I go up. It feels like I go downward a little bit. And when I go from like everyday life to the zone, I can literally feel my brain slow down and I feel hyper aware. So I just start with changing my breathing or observing my breathing. And then I have a very specific formula that I use to get in the zone. But it involves kind of swinging through and down into a quieter place where there's stillness, where my brain waves can slow down. And then I go into my imaginative state. I use my imagination. Imagination is really key to the zone, because you're going to be sort of living in a quantum world. I call it the cosmic arena, right? I'm going to show you, if you're getting in the zone with me, I'm going to take you to your cosmic arena. You may not really see it yet, but once you get to the cosmic arena, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I've been here before. Like, I see it, I get it. And then in the cosmic arena, for me, I go and practice, and I'm a freaking superstar in the cosmic arena. So I go into the alpha state of mind and I practice with these superhuman mental reps. I practice being great so much that my cells think I'm great. Even if I wasn't or I'm not, my cells start to feel great. I let my mind, hear great thoughts, even if I say them myself. Before I go into the zone, I usually want to have the great thought. I am incredible. I am a magical basketball player. I mean, I don't do a lot of zone meditations for playing the game anymore. I still like to do it for fun. The key is to use your imagination when you're in an alpha state to create a really strong groove of excellence, and to also spend time in the zone, but meditating, because the more you meditate, the more likely you are to become, a level of love. So where your default is unconditional love. And when you get to that space, everything you do is in the field of excellence. And some of this research has been done by Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote a book called Power versus Force. He has a whole chapter 12, on power in sports. And the zone is part of this. You become your most powerful self in the zone. So you got to get there by, remember, 3 things. 1, by breathing a certain kind of way. And 2, you kind of take the plunge to get to your cosmic arena, and then you use your imagination, you visualize. But you don't just visualize, right? That's just using your eyes. That's visualize. You want to use your nose, your mouth, your ears, your feel. You want to feel the basketball. I would even say for you, if you're doing it, hold the basketball when you're in the zone, just so you can like have that extra sense that's activated. So you want to activate all your senses, and you want to feel incredible. You want to imagine the championship. So you can use that I just said, or you can, connect with me directly. And I love teaching people how to get in the zone. It's my favorite thing. Martin, you know that. I had a client today who had this huge test for her medical board. And guess what we did? We went into the zone before her test. She was nervous as heck. She goes in, she passes the test. Boom. I mean, easy peasy. Like, you really make everything else easier when you learn how to get in the zone. I mean, I wash the dishes in the zone. I drive in the zone. I use the zone for silly stuff. Like if I'm doing a little puzzle on my phone, like a game, like a logic game, I'll go in the zone and connect with a logic puzzle teacher. Like, who cares if I pass logic puzzle games? I'm constantly practicing. If you're a student and you have tests, a writer, the zone is for every single human. Like whether you're C-suite or, basketball court, it doesn't matter. All of us should learn to get in the zone, because it's a place where we can really be better humans and have a better species and be better even to the earth and to each other. And for me, the reason I teach the zone is not to make money and not to have people be better basketball players, but is to have an imprint upon the world and allow all of us to be at a higher frequency and to be more conscious and to have consciousness kind of lead the way instead of ego. And so to me, it's my contribution to leaving a better world behind for my grandkids, my great grandkids, etc.
You're going to hear from me one day. I'm going to say, Miss Laura, I need you to give me a day. I need to figure, because I got a group. I'm bringing them to you.
That'd be awesome. Thanks for having me, Martin. I enjoy our time. I love connecting. I mean, talking about basketball is something I don't get to do enough, honestly. So I appreciate you so much.
We'll have to get together again soon.
Yes.
When you can. Yeah, that would be awesome.
I appreciate you so much, Martin.
Oh, appreciate you. Seriously, it's my pleasure. I'm so grateful. Thank you.